we're going to get to it. You and I have talked a lot about orgs and who's doing what and how it all works. Well, there was somebody that I casted with earlier this year who happens to be a CEO of an org. He's a caster, analyst, all-around great guy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get right to it. None other than Mr. Wolfy himself, Wolfy2Hot. Where did your camera go? Oh, my Lord.
You know, I think this the podcast is saying we need Hoosier just to be the main focal point of tonight. He's the eye candy. He's what the ladies come here to see. So I think that's what's going on.
See, that's why you're a good caster. Man, that was right off the dome. Impressive. Oh, my Lord. Sir, how is your evening going?
It's going well, man. Just got out of school right now. Got off campus, have an exam in a while. So, you know, just busy. We have some cool projects behind the scenes that I've been working on. So, you know, it's just we've just been running.
That's awesome. That's actually really good to hear. Yeah, so you are a caster. There we go. We fixed it. I fixed it. I did it. Thank you, everybody. Go me. So you're a caster, analyst, and then you're also a CEO of your own org in APAC, right?
Yeah, Godspeed. We started about last February or the end of last January, so we're relatively new. We've been in the scene for a couple splits now for RLCS, so we've really been hitting the ground running, and we've just been really trying to grow APAC currently.
That's awesome. Currently sitting in 5th, if I'm not mistaken, which is
we're in 5th.
Oh, that seems really competitive right now.
Oh, dude, the 2 to 5, I would say is the most competitive you can really be. I feel like that can really be interchangeable. We've been put in front of James Cheese, the top of the mountain right now for APAC, like just multiple times already. And you know, it's not fun. But the one thing I can say, I'm happy the boys have been able to see that level of competition and been able to go out there and really see and dissect what James Cheese has been doing. We have been scrimming them, which is good, but you know, it's never the same than that tournament setting. Than that when you're in front of the big lights, in front of the crowd with the commentators going, it's a whole different atmosphere. So, you know, as we maybe put up against the Giants, we do get that well-needed experience.
That's awesome to hear. Well, I know also Bucket has a ton of questions for you because since we have started the podcast back in January, we have had so many questions just trying to wrap our heads around the scene, how an org like looks at the scene, finds players, does payments, just how it all works. So for you to start, how did you just start your Godspeed to start with?
You know, so Godspeed originally, like I would say we became a team like notably in January. That's when we really started going. But like Godspeed was something that I first started when I was like starting Rocket League. It was kind of like nothing. It was like me and my little cousin who was like, hey, play Rocket League. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. And we were like, what's this club stuff? And we just decided like we were there thinking like, how do we come up? What do we do? Like Godspeed, that sounds like a cool name. He was a Flash. I think he was a Flash fan, so he kind of got that from there. And then I kind of made the logo. So I would say it's like a 50-50 on how it started, but it kind of wasn't supposed to be an RLCS org. It was just supposed to be something that I just kind of was having fun with, that I kind of just saw an opportunity and started rolling with it.
Very interesting. Well,
is that normal for organizations like this to happen? I mean, are most people deliberate with it that you've run into, or is that something like this was a side hustle and then it became something because I put so much work into it? That's what it sounds like.
It's a little both. I would say like for myself, it wasn't until like I was really going after it. Like there are tons of orgs that get started now that of course it's their side hustle, but like their main priority is like we're gonna be an org, we're gonna be a top pro org from the very get-go. What my thought process was, I was just looking for more ways to get ingrained into Rocket League and find ways to really allow myself to grow in the scene and become a figure and not just a bystander. And owning an RLCS org was kind of like that next step from casting to moving on to that. So for myself, it was like, okay, cool. Then I kind of just fell in love with APAC, and we just continue and trying to just host things, host tournaments. Like I know this past season this past off season, we were the only team, the only org and technically in all of APAC, entire world, that were throwing off-season tournaments for the region. So we're really trying to put ourselves out there and make sure that everything's going. But not a lot of orgs think that way. A lot of them just go and say, "Hey, we're gonna be very methodical with it, but we're doing it for our brand to grow."
Interesting. Because like you just said, you basically were helping the APAC bubble scene, which is what everybody was begging for North America and EU to do here in the very recent past, especially with the way lands are going now and with the invitational happening, and there's a huge break of competitive Rocket League technically for what 90% of the player base.
You said 90% of the player base right now is playing competitive. I would say so. I think that's about right. Everyone right now is kind of in that little mindset.
Yeah, that's interesting. So how did you find yourself in APAC though? Why wasn't not North America or EU? Why APAC?
There's actually three reasons. Three reasons for this. The first one was I kind of got introduced through APAC through another org. I don't know if you know Luop. Shout out to Frost Esports. I got to give them. They gave my first RLCX experience, and it was for APAC. And it was something that like I never really got privy to, and I was kind of seeing how they were working in the region and what they were doing, and they're like, yeah, it's it's a fast growing region right now. A lot of people are trying to get into it, and the number one thing, to be honest with you, I was able to afford it. I could have done NA, I could have done EU, but I was looking at the top. I was looking at right now who was leading the pack, and top 16 NA is very, or just actually top 10 to 16 is very competitive. Of course, you have your top 8 that you kind of already know who are going to be up there, the B1s, the Gen Gs now, but it was kind of a figure where I was like, all right, do I want to be an org as a bubble team, or do I want to be an org representing a region? And it was kind of I looked across, and I really just liked how the players, especially in Apex South, where we originally started, because last season I remember it being Apex North and South, but Apex South had English speakers, where Apex North is more Japanese speakers. So I wasn't really able to communicate well with Apex North, where Apex South, it was kind of just like another day, just bunch of buddies talking there. And I'm not saying anything about Apex North. Just I couldn't, unfortunately I couldn't converse with them due to the language barrier.
That makes sense. And luckily, your explanation there answers one of our viewers' questions. Coach Jesu asking any language barrier for APAC, and it sounds like for APAC South, no, but for APAC North, yeah, there is kind of one there. And you made the choice that you did. How did you feel about them merging the two now?
It was bittersweet because I felt that the team that we have on roster would have taken APAC South. I feel that this would have been the team to really represent it, get first. Misty, Ballaris, and Kevin, especially with Trill leading the way as a coach, I knew that team would be able to come out on top. But when you're put up against APAC North, it's only good for the region. It's bittersweet because, like, dang it, we could have been the team representing APAC South, but it's good because we get the player base to finally be able to step up, and it's the only way for us to slowly creep up and level the playing field. I want to say NAEU, but we need to get towards Oceania first. Then we need to go towards MENA. Then we can start talking about the EUs and NAs if we really want to be on top there. But it's a slow climb. But I really think our team can do it even with this merger. But I think it's overall the best. Only thing I can say that I didn't like, I can say this: they cut our prize pool. They took like 60 grand off our prize pool. Like, bro, what's going on? At least like okay, you want to keep it the same, sure, but like you're gonna take away almost everything. Like,
wait, how does that math work? You put two regions together and you cut the prize pool?
Oh yeah. It doesn't work. Like, it was like, I think it was 30. I think 30 for each region, and then I think it became 20. And I was all like, what's going on? Actually, let me make sure I get that right, because, dude, I trust me, and it was happened so last minute. It was one of those things where Psyonix kind of crippled us in a sense, because sponsors kind of saw that and they're like, oh, look at that. Then they're taking away money from them. We kind of gonna pull out and look somewhere else. I was like, oh, dang it. So it has its benefits. It has its cons. So yeah, 20. It went from 40 to 20. So 80 to 20. So we lost
That's
60,000.
wild. So you
60.
so you were looking across the board and you're like, I don't want to be a small fish in a big pond. I want to be
No.
a big fish in a small pond. And then they
Yes.
combined two ponds and then took some of the water away. And you're like, what is happening? This is crazy. So
Yeah.
now, go ahead. Yeah. So you started a team in January, or that's when you kind of became the org. Like, talk about your
Mhm.
progression to like the players you have now. How did you get to where you are now? And it sounds like it was just this 1 year, so the last 11 months or so.
Yeah. We January 28th is when we officially announced our roster. So and I think we played that split on February 2nd. So like right around the corner. And what we originally picked up, okay, let's go with the trio of Rapupi, Gon, and Blue with Misty as the coach. And they were very eager when we were talking to them. They told us, hey, we're not going to get lower than top four. We know that for a fact. We know who's playing in the region. And we felt that they were the best option. Like I remember we contacted at the time. Things didn't really go out there, but once I talked to Blue, a little side note about Blue, the number one ones player in 8-pack, man's absolutely cracked. I played him one time, beat me
Really?
22 to 1. 22 to 1. That's all I gotta say. And I
You
got
got
that
your
one
one.
goal.
You got your one.
Oh no, he told me I cheesed him. I did cheese him. It was a fake kickoff. They
Still
passed him
counts.
there. It still counts, yes, sir. Uh, but that trio did well. The first split that they played, I think they got fifth to eighth. They didn't get the result they wanted, but I think we faced off against Gaming Gladiators, who at the time last season went undefeated until they lost again to MP. RIP. I don't want to say their name. Unfortunate to them, but until they lost to them there with with Poofy, Kevin, and Baller Reese as a trio on that squad, and they they were working really hard, and then the next split going from 5 to 8 we were able to place third, and I think we placed third again the third split. So they really were able to come out here and put us right on the map from the very beginning. And the one thing that really surprised me was the response from the fans. We were a brand new org, but we were able to like win most of our fan voting. About 80% of our fan voting was us winning, and from the very start. So it could have been because the players were really renowned. Everyone really wanted to see it. I don't know what it is, but even to this day, when we play some of the best teams, we still have that edge in the chat. I love the chat fans. Keep doing it. Keep putting exclamation mark GS in the chat for when on those RLCS streams. But yeah, man, it's been a progression. We from there, I wouldn't say our team has taken a step back due to placement, but I think we went up in terms of skill. Nothing to say about Blue going to Rapupi, but having Misty come back from EU, being from our old coach, jumping onto the pitch with Ballaris and Kevin, it's just those guys are absolutely insane. I absolutely love where we are currently in terms of skill, but I think the reason they're really coming out is because of what we do for APAC, and we've been really, really putting like a lot of investments into APAC right now, and it's kind of one of those things. You said they combined the region, they took some of the water out, but the one thing that we were lucky to do is that we are a very notable team in APAC with all the players. We're still getting more like popularity, of course. Yeah, we're into fan voting, we're doing all that, but it really has been because they trust who we are has been the reason we've been able to get such a squad that we have.
I mean, everything you said right there sounds fantastic, and I can see why players would trust you. That all just sounds great. I mean, it sounds like you guys are just nailing it left and right now. I don't even, Bucket, where do you want to go from here? I know you have all the questions for this one.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? Like I'm very interested in what you guys are doing over there and
Mhm.
your players and all that, but also a little bit of like the business side of it and how you kind of got started with your sponsorships or whatever you are willing to share with us and how that all came to be. And I know you said it was kind of like you and your cousin at first, and you guys were just kind of doing it, and then you put in the extra work. Like, what was that extra work? How did you reach out to these people and say, "We're gonna build a team. Come sponsor us. We're gonna win this thing"?
I want to make sure I shout out Austin or Neko Odin. He is my co-owner here. My cousin helped me out, but Neko Odin, aka Austin Wood, has been one of the big driving factors here. He calls himself a wash CDL player, which he was playing CDL. He used to have an org himself, and I knew none of this before I brought him on. By the way, it just became a blessing. I love the guy, and he's really been able to help out from some of his expertise and some of his old knowledge of what he's been able to do in the scene in CDL. He's he was able to play against FaZe when they were coming up. He was playing against Optic when all that stuff was going, when those orgs were kind of going. So he was in that early bubble, and he kind of saw how these big orgs and what they did in order to get where they are. Unfortunately, the org that he had didn't weren't able to stick together, but that kind of just gave him the information to come onto Godspeed and really help us out. And he's been an absolute blessing.
You got to have those people in your corner, 100%, right? And I see him in the chat here. You said Neko Odin, right? That's shout out to him for certainly doing all the big things that you need. So he's helped you kind of just get everything else. Like, what is your role day to day look like?
Oh, my role day to day at the beginning, it really was all the hats. Like it just started off with us two and one of my old mods, Lance. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. But it was kind of like a trio, and we had to at the time like get our production ready for the RLC. Get our like currently right now it's a little more different. Thankfully, we have more staff on hand where I don't have to really look at the day to day more. I'm able to like get our bigger projects that we have now. But at the time, it was kind of like interact with the players, make sure they're doing well, get our social media going because we have to start posting on there. Get every platform of social media going: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, our Twitch. We had to be able to go out, find those sponsors, and a lot of sponsors, because APAC's a brand new region, they don't want to touch us. And I've had sponsors tell me like, where does like they say you sound very passionate and optimistic about where APAC's going, but what does Psyonix feel APAC's going? What's their roadmap? And Psyonix right now doesn't have one. And I've reached out. I reached out to the head of Psyonix, and it was kind of like, I'm just gonna throw my fish, my hook in the water, and if he bites, he responds to me. He does, and I haven't response, and he doesn't owe me one. Nothing to him. But I would really like to know where they feel the biggest region in terms of esports is going. APAC is the leader in every single other esport, and that can't change here in Rocket, and that cannot be the difference here in Rocket League. And that's something that I don't think anyone sees, which I find just like it's a bit idiotic to me, because I'm like, look, you have some of the biggest populations of people who are the most skilled players in League of Legends, Valorant, Dota. You can just name the games. The APAC is the region, and if you don't look at APAC and you make APAC die, the game's gonna die. NAE, you can only do so much. And yes, where we at right now is very NA and EU based, but you want this to grow, you want this to go into a bigger international stage, you have to target APAC, and there is not that much being targeted there. But that's why what we're doing right now is we're really trying to spotlight APAC, especially with a lot of the like stuff we have. We just started Overcharge, one of our podcasts that is APAC RLCS specific. We talk about the roster moves. We talk about the placements that just happened. We do touch on NA, EU, and some of the other regions, but we're like, we need the information and the awareness to be to the fans that they don't have right now. Like, you hear about the Justins, the Appjacks, the Daniels. Why? Because the media's all over them, and for good reason. They're amazing players, but no one's gonna see the Ballerises, the Kevins, the Misties, the Blues going for poopies, like the freaking who's there now? I can say multiple teams. I'm gonna stick to my team. Just
wait, hang on, we're not glossing over that. Did you say his name is going for poopies?
No, Gon and Rapoopy. They're two different players.
That's why I say we're not glossing over that. I'm clarifying, because that's what I heard.
No. That name, that took so many casters. I remember Graybeard like saying like, "What's this guy's name? Rapoopy." That's interesting.
We love Graybeard here too.
Yes,
Graybeard's great. Shout out to him.
We had him on this show as well.
Graybeard was actually our first caster who casted our first split with. It was Brojack, myself, and Odin. Us four actually were the first tandem to really get Godspeed on the RLCS level. So I always gotta shout out those guys. They actually helped us get to where we are. Such notable and great casters. We're able to jump in the booth. It only helps.
Yeah, you make some really good points there too
Seriously.
about the region, and it blows my mind. I was thinking the same thing about CS:GO and Dota and all the things that the Asia Pacific region does for esports. Do you think it's mainly because it's soccer, the game itself, like, or because it started in NA and then kind of evolved to Europe and then it's just spreading and now you guys are just kind of like the remnants of what has already been built and there's this core trunk and you guys are just a branch of it right now? Or how do you feel, like, how did this happen? Why are we here right now with your region?
Well, if I remember correctly, this is barely our second season. I believe last year was our first year having RLCS, so that's a big factor. The us just being so new and with NA and EU already having the backing and been playing the game at such a high level for so long. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that our players are on par with the top eight in the world. They're not right now. Even James Cheese is going to go to this next major and struggle, and that's not because they're not good players. It's because we don't have that type of talent yet in our region to really be able to get them the experience that they need. And that's something that we've been trying to do. And one of the hardest things we're trying to get our players a boot camp in North America or a permanent boot camp in Japan. That's one thing that I believe some of the players, I think it's Korea, but some of the players from James Cheese are in Japan, which allows them to play in US West servers. Playing in US West servers is a huge advantage because you could still scrim NA teams at just a slightly bad ping disadvantage. And being a not having that same opportunity here for those in the Philippines or those in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, in India, all those countries, not being able to have that, you're kind of segregated from the world right now. And either I'm gonna go on an NA server and have 200 ping and try to deal with that, or I have to play my friends who were all SSLs, but it's still not the level of a I'll even say like a top or top 16 team. I would say we're if I had to be realistic, like some of these players will probably come in here and have some trouble getting to top 16 NA. I would say day 3 RLCS easy, but cracking 16 NA is hard to do. A lot there's amazing great players that get taken out early on, and you're like, wow, how did this team not make it? And there's all these sleepers. It's just the depth of NA and EU is just so wide that we don't have that here. It's kind of like a big collective of the pro players in APAC. So it's just everybody's just playing each other, and after playing your friends for a while, you kind of already know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of like you guys are in your infancy. It's almost like when the NBA players had the dream team and they were just dominant for so long, and then all of a sudden they weren't because the rest of the
Mhm.
world caught up to them. Who's gonna be that region that catches up first, do you think?
Oh well, now Mena's right there with Falcons. I feel are a huge team. Yeah, you even saw Furia move from their May region into NA, and they're having some trouble. So right now, nothing against them, but they even said it. NA RLCS is hard. They tweeted that out on their Twitter. So uh, it's hard to say if we get another team out of NA and EU. I don't think this next World we might not have another team win it, but uh, my money would have been on Furia if they didn't leave. Now, just looking around, it's tough. You can try to say Falcons, but that's kind of like the safe bet in my opinion, just because of their previous success before. But if I had to really guess on who I would see going, I might come from. I was a big Sam supporter for a while, but then like Furia kind of killed that for me. But I love the club. I love all those guys over there, but
No, it's a tough
yeah,
question, and
It's
that's
that's
a tough
kind of the
question.
whole point. Is like there's gonna have to be some competition levels that start to competition breeds more competition, breeds
Yeah.
champions, right? And so eventually you're gonna get that. Do you think it's gonna be bubble NA players moving out to different regions, or is it gonna be the region specific players like you have now who are just gonna start their getting up to the top levels of what NA is already capable of, or EU.
Right now, it's gonna take bubble players to move over. That you see it with Kami and Virtuoso already. Like they have come in and it's what the region needs. I've talked to a lot of people from the APAC region, and they all say I asked them, do you feel that this move of international talent to APAC is a good thing? And all of them say yes, it is. We have not been able to test ourselves this much just outside of an RLCS. So it's gonna. I think the next 2 years, maybe. I do feel that our team specifically can take down James Cheese by the spring, but to take down a world contender, I'm gonna say we're probably 2-3 years out from there. But it's gonna take a lot of influx of players to come in. I want to say 2 years, but it's just this next world. Maybe I feel. Not this world's a world that comes after this one. I feel we'll probably be in the top 16 already, and then the year after that, we'll probably make that top 8, top 1 run. It's kind of where I'm seeing APAC going, but it can only happen with players coming in and really elevating. And we've seen it from like Flitz, who was on all mid or frequency. He was moving regions right now. I think he's going to SSA, I believe. I could be wrong, a little fact check on that. But APAC was one of his destinations that he had put out there. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was scared shitless. I was like, oh crud, Flitz is coming over here. God dang it! Whoever picks him up is about to get a player. And from a lot of people saying Flitz is as good as Virtuoso, or better. So that just tells you the type of player that this region could have gotten, and it only helps us shine, really. And I say international talent, you're welcome to come. It stinks not seeing born players from the region win it yet, but it's what we need in order to get to that point where we are the region that starts winning. And we have a lot of young players, but nobody knows about them, and that's why. Oh, I'll wait for this project to go down the line a little bit more before I get into that one. But yeah, we have a little more project right now that we're trying to. I could say a little bit. We're trying to create a bubble scene, a little more bubble scene in APAC because it desperately needs it. The Spinks, he's a 13-year-old prodigy out of APAC right now. Kid is crack. He's queuing with the pros right now in APAC, and he's just chilling. Imagine in 2 years when he comes out, man's gonna be absolutely insane. But he can't be insane if he doesn't get the right place to compete.
I mean, that makes sense. I guess I would go to we're hearing a lot about the players that are already in the scene and whatnot right now, and they're needing better competition. What is the popularity of the game itself over there? I mean, is that where we're lacking? Because I get, like you brought up, like League of Legends, Dota. That's a lot of games that people just grew up playing. Where like League of Legends does have a strategy to it, but it's just ASDW and moving your mouse around. It has a strategy, whereas Rocket League has a big mechanical jump that you have to learn. So is there is just the interest in the game also what's lacking in the region?
I'll say out of top 5, Rocket League's probably 3 through 5. We're not 1 or 2. I know that for a fact, but I think we're probably 3 through 5 somewhere there. And I know I can't speak for all the players, but it's the only way for Rocket League to grow in APAC for it to get to that 2 and maybe battle into that 1, but League of Legends is right there and they've been around for a while, just a minute, just a minute. But
I do have an interesting question to ask. So China got the game, but I'm guessing you guys are not allowed to queue with them. They're locked in their own servers, correct? Do you know?
I don't even know if China if they have the game, it's more than likely it, because I haven't heard of anybody queuing with anyone from China to my knowledge.
Okay.
So that could be it. They could be region locked.
It probably is region locked just from the Chinese government.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I didn't even think about that. But that's another big hitter. Right. Yeah, it's another huge freaking market.
Yeah. Nico says China has their own Rocket League as well. So yeah, I think I remember when it came out, because that's when we got the arena and all that, and videos were coming out of their garage looks completely different, and yeah, you can actually see your presets on the screen. It looks really cool, literally what everybody wants. And yeah, so I was thinking about that with APAC. I'm like, well, they're there, but you guys probably aren't allowed to queue with them. They're just queuing within themselves. So, but yeah, if the game's within the top 5 of interest, I would hope that there's more people who find the mechanics. I feel like that part of the world, that would be an interesting part to them, is learning those mechanics and the difficulty that the game is.
Crazy enough, APAC is mostly mouse and keyboard when it comes to Rocket League.
Why am I not
they're
surprised
even
by
using a
that?
controller. Yeah, I was very surprised. Like I was talking about Blue earlier, he's mouse and keyboard.
Jeez.
LCT, a person who's at Worlds, is mouse and keyboard. That man cannot find the mouse of his life. If there's a mouse manufacturer, please hit him up. He breaks his mouth every single month. It's not even it's not even funny. Like he takes picture on Twitter, like just cracked. I'm like, dude, what is this guy doing? How is he treating his mouse? But
God.
that's another story. But yeah, no, it's interesting, like you said, the mechanics for it, and I feel the only way Rocket League can get popular is for a team to go on a big run, like Falcons, who helped like put Mena there, who like Furia, who helped with Sam. It really has to be a team competing at the top level, because a lot of teams right now, from what I've been told, is that they're discouraged. Like especially last season when Gaming Gladiator, a lot of players didn't even want to grind, because like, what's the point of grinding if we're just going to continue losing to this team? And that's why the merger kind of was a good thing, because people were like, oh, okay, look at that. And that was kind of like the problem with James Cheese, because people felt the same way. But it's totally different. I don't know if it's Kami and Virtuoso, and of course Realize. I don't want to disregard him, but he's been in the scene already. But Kami and Virtuoso, I don't know if it was them that kind of put a battery on the back of these players, because a lot of these players since the merger have just been grinding. I remember Kevin told me in one of the RCS interviews, he says, I probably didn't touch grass for about 2 weeks. I was on the game that much. And I was like, it was all like, dude, it's crazy. This guy's crazy. He puts up like, oh my god, like 80 hours like in 2 weeks. Like the guys, it's full time for these players. So a lot of these players have motivation now because of that. But that was kind of what was happening. It's just they need to see a team represent the region for them to really say, all right, we can do this. Let's go. Let's grind.
I love seeing all these people who are just passionate like you and Graybeard about the region that they're involved in and trying to grow the brand essentially of where these guys are coming from. Do you guys feel we hear this word a lot when we talk to coaches or all the things, like kind of egoed out at this point because of NA and EU? Is that kind of something you guys have been standing up against? And what other things are you guys doing, or can you do besides the bubble scene, that you're trying to make to like catapult you guys to that next level? Like, or because people like us, we're reaching out because we want to know more, but now we have some information, we can start talking about you guys more and getting our communities involved in these kind of things. And just that by itself is something I'm thinking about. Are there other things you guys are doing?
Right now for us, it's starting off slow. There has been talks, okay, I'll break it here first, of like potential lands maybe for APAC, and I feel that's going to be another big thing if we can start doing some live events. Is if we can find a way to get some live events, and even if it's not us, even if it's some other orgs or other companies that want to do it, you have to get these players in that LAN experience. A lot of them go and play their first time ever at a LAN, and how do you think that feels, being in front of 15,000 people and trying to live your dream right there by trying to survive and make it through for the first time? It's a tough atmosphere to really deal with, and I feel it really has to be towards LANs. We need more competition and just overall awareness and love, and most importantly, boot camps. Well, these guys have to find a way to play these teams. Sorry, go
correct. No, yeah, the boot camps. But you kind of touched on something that Bucket and I've always drawn a conclusion to. We grew up playing traditional sports, where as you get older, you start playing in front of bigger and bigger crowds. And for the esports side, especially Rocket League, like you just said, you go from sitting in your room playing by yourself, just talking with your teammates, to now you're on a stage with people all around you that are, if you're playing Space Station, are screaming Lanual, and you have no love coming your way, especially if you're in APAC region in the middle of Texas. Like, I could only imagine, like, most people around that age that you haven't had that experience, it's a fight or flight at that point.
And it's like anything. You said in real sports, the arenas only get bigger the better you get, and being able to get your composure is the reason you're able to. You saw I'm gonna say Laniel out of respect. You saw Laniel when they were screaming his name. He was trying to fight off that smirk, and he's like, "Oh no, I can't smile here. Just stay focused." I noticed that, but like as he developed and went to more of the majors, he looked so much different. Thankfully, I was able to go to the LA major. He looks so much different from being in that YouTube arena, YouTube theater, to being inside Dickey's arena. He was two different personalities, two different composures, but he had land exposure. He went to Europe. He played in London in front of that crowd. He played at LA. So when he goes to Dallas in front of the biggest crowd Rocket League has ever had, he's like, okay, this is more comfortable for me now. I'm used to people shouting my name because I'm great. First time's kind of hard, but now it's kind of like, okay, I know what to expect. And a lot of these players that are going there for the first time, especially in APAC, don't know what to expect.
Yeah, you get that first shot of it, and it's like you said, it's like, oh, I can't show emotion. Then you learn it's like, actually, you probably should, because they're gonna eat it up, and it's only gonna make you feel better. It goes right along with Calm. Calm found his niche in, I'm gonna talk trash and I'm gonna be the evil guy, and it works for him, and we love it. We think it's fantastic. But yeah, it's fun watching these younger guys get that experience, grow with that, and find their niche in the scene. So what would be the goal for APAC at the end of this season? Is it at least getting to day 3 of Worlds? Is it getting a top 5? What do you see for APAC?
Realistically, us get somewhere between, if we're able to get in the top 12, which is very competitive, it would probably be the best, but that's that's hard to do. I would say we came from, I believe we won one game. I think we maybe won a series, and that was the Senpai Shinobi Strikers. I forget their first name. Off of that, so they are the only team that really won. So like trying to say get a top 5 finish, trying to do that's like, all right, let's win a series. Let's win 2 series. Let's get out a wild card. Let's get onto the main stage. So I would say making the main stage right now would be the biggest thing for us if we're able to at the end of the year. And I feel that James Cheese has the potential to do it, but I think they might not do it this split. Maybe this major, maybe the next major, but it's kind of up there for us. By Worlds, I would like to see us competing at the level where everyone's not just saying what they said last year, like, oh, nothing to Gaming. Unfortunately, had a visa issue. It's like, oh, we'll take Gaming because we kind of just want the free win and us to get through. I remember Space Station said that we had a chance. Or they said that we had an opportunity to play a game, and they decided not to. They're like, we don't want the easy win. They literally said that. I was like, what, guys?
Wow.
Not the easy win, but it's kind of like the confidence that they know. Like, come on, like I think it was Reddles. Reddles, if you're watching, man, if I get that wrong, just DM me. It's cool. You you never have. It'd be cool if you did. But no, it's right now. I would say let's get out a wild card, and that's a success for us right now.
That's a good goal. I would agree with that. Yeah, if you can get out a wild card and get onto the main stage, if it sticks to the same format like it was this past year, then yeah, that should work really well. How do you feel about, I guess, I'm going kind of like what Bucket touched on. So a couple of coaches that we have talked to when it comes to the RLCS scene, and this just might be an NA thing, but there seems to just be a lot of egos that drive everything right now when it comes to Rocket League, whether it's coaching, playing, like just trying to get a shot. Are you seeing those same things in APAC, or is the scene not been around long enough to really have that happen?
I would say it's the latter there. I don't think it seems been that around a lot, but I don't think that's how the players are. Okay. I think that they themselves they they come from a different upbringing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the upbringing here, but they're really well on manners and respect over there. I'm not saying they're probably are trash talkers, or probably are there. I haven't been privy to it. Like especially for APAC Arena, what we did this past off season, I would just DM the team, DM the players, hey, do you want to participate in this? And they all reply to me, and they're like, yes, no, yes, no. And if they're saying no, it's no big deal. A lot of them, a lot of reasons. And another reason that's hurting APAC is NS, national service. A lot of players, they don't get home till about Friday afternoon, and that means they can't play Rocket League from Monday to Friday night. And that means that leaves Saturday, Sunday only days to grind and play RLCS. And that's another reason that RLCS only had 2 days for APAC this past season, is because they noticed that a lot of players couldn't participate because they were barely coming back from national service.
I didn't even think about that over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's, yeah.
A big person was Ballaris, one of our players. He just got out of national service, I think at the early November or like mid-November. So he just started grinding the game. The man's been on it. So yeah, that's a big factor. These guys don't have the same hours to play sometimes.
Because they have to do that till what age?
That's what age? Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't know what age, but let me check how old Ballaris is, because he literally just got out.
Looks like he just turned 20 here in October.
So you have to do it from 18 to 20. It's a 2-year commitment, 2-year service commitment.
Okay.
That's like prime.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Rocket League age too. Like that's peaking.
So that was one thing that I noticed, and that kind of hurts us a little bit, because I'm trying to plan events, but then I have to think about that. And then if I try to plan events during RLCS, Saturday, Sunday is the only day where a lot of the player population is willing to like play on. So it's like, do I put the events throughout the week? Just say the guys who have national service, they can't participate. Those who can, and it's a tough toss up right now. But I would say that's something that nobody can really change. It's kind of like the way those governments are set in stone. So that could be a hindrance.
I would say the missed opportunity that Rocket League had that could change, that could have altered that, and it's because of COVID, was the Olympic event. The Olympic event that didn't get to happen, if that got to happen, if that did happen, and there was a good showing of that, that is how you drive that change over there, because countries over in that region, they're very national, represent us well. And if Rocket League could have shown that, hey, this is a big enough stage, we probably could have had a chance to make that avenue for those players. So hopefully when the Olympics come back around, that opportunity gets to happen again.
I think it's huge. I remember when Falcons, they did well. Didn't their government invite them to the capital, and they had a huge little thing for them? So that is very, very true there. So actually, I didn't even think about that. The Olympics was, I totally forgot. I knew we were in there. I totally forgot that we couldn't participate. So that could be a big step there. So Rocket League, Psyonix, get back in there. Let's see on the world stage.
Get back in there. It was right now is another missed opportunity. I would have said, instead of doing the LAN at Rotterdam, go to Qatar. Go to Qatar, where the World Cup is.
Yeah.
I would have thought you could have swung something with that to put that on a bigger stage, whether it was like the actual LAN, or take a couple of your top teams and, I don't know, my brain, piss off everybody in the world and go, look, you're going to watch a soccer match for 5 minutes. Kiss our ass.
That's interesting. Actually, I'm curious, man. It's just where Rocket League's going. Yes, we just had our biggest LAN ever in Dallas, but
those were even inflated numbers. Those were inflated numbers. The bots also bought a shit ton of the tickets. Any of us that were there, when you looked around the arena, not every seat was filled.
Yes, that is true. No security.
Definitely not on Friday. But
Friday, yeah.
It wasn't bad. That'll be a debate, but that's yet to be seen, right? Like, we can speculate all we want, but if there's people in the scene like you and all over the world trying to lift this esport up, it can really go wherever we want to take it. And I think that's the key. It's going to be the people behind it pushing it to the edge. And right now, it's players that mainly watch it, right? People that play the game mainly watch the game.
Right.
So we're trying to make this more of a global, you don't have to play to enjoy it. I mean, My kids will sit there and watch it with me, and they don't play the game. So we just need to get that excitement built on it, and that's what it sounds like you guys are trying to do over there, is build this excitement. And the way you guys feel it's going to happen is if you get a team to win a game or a series at a major event.
I agree there, but my only thing is, like, I had this conversation actually, I think, the other night with Austin. Is it a good or a bad thing that it has to be from the people who play the game that have to take the game to where it needs to get to, and not the company that's running it? Like, there's a lot that people have been wanting. They want the bubble scene. They want, especially in NAEU. A lot of teams were especially mad that they couldn't play Rocket League for that third regional, and it was just invite only. And let it be invite only. It's what RLCS wants to do, but there's no other avenues for people to play, and it takes all us TOs to be able to try to do our best, because we love the game. We don't want it to die off, but at the same time, the developers, I'm not saying they don't care about it. Of course, they put on these amazing events for us, and I commend them, but there's only so much they can do. But if everyone does feel that there's more that they could try to do, or at least partner with other people, GodSpeed, to like throw these events. Like,
well, okay, let me ask you this. This has been a long debated topic on this show. At what point do you feel they need to take this from an open format and make it a league? Because we all saw before last season, there was the huge debacle with NA that saw Cloud9 leave the game completely. And while no confirming evidence has ever come out, all we can deduct is that they wanted it to be a league. They wanted a guaranteed spot for orgs, and Psyonix didn't want to do that.
I feel hurts the game, but helps it. It hurts the game in the sense of you don't get the new players, you don't get the upsets. You kind of like, it's either the Cowboys or the Washington football team or the Washington Commanders now. It's like you kind of just have these choices where like you kind of have to be the best of the best to get on these teams. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't allow for the homies or Team Tequila, who did really well this during the quals. It doesn't allow the no-name teams and the up-and-coming stars to get the platform they need. And it's fine if you want to make it just league play, fine. But you have to do more for the bubble scene, because you can't just expect all these teams to like rely on six-mans to tell you who the best players are. And there has to be something out there that. There has to be a feeder system. There isn't, and I know they used to have one. It was before I even got into RLRS.
RLRS was the bubble scene where if you were the last two teams in RLCS, you got relegated to RLRS and had to play your way back in.
That's not that bad, but it doesn't go into the franchising. And franchising is cool because you get you get more fan base. I believe, because people know who they're going to root for. They know who's going to be in there. The only thing they don't know is who might be on that roster. And that could really help with a lot of brand awareness and the consistency of the branding that you're being put out there. You're not getting teams that are orgless. Like, unfortunately, I think we're going to have two teams that go to Worlds without an org. That's not a good thing. Like, that shouldn't be happening. And yes, franchising stops that.
That was the whole point of the tournament, though, right? And I'm in agreement in a lot of the league stuff. Like, I feel I don't even get me started on this, but it could look so pretty. You could have your orgs and your teams and your franchises, and they could have a minor league system. And there's this whole thing of going through. There's a whole thing that you can do, but the whole point of this is so that Joe Schmo and his group of friends can make it to RLCS without an organization. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of it anymore because there's so many players.
Okay. So many players. I didn't think about that.
Well, if you're trying, I think if you're trying to actually legitimize an organization, we are here running a competition for the best of the best, then it kind of loses at some point when you go to tune in on a Friday and you can't even watch one stream. You got to click the 5 different places. And then sometimes you don't, like you said, when those org list ones come through, you're like, well, who are these guys? Oh, well, Is this a legit like professional thing, or is this just a bunch of kids on the weekend running a big tournament that happen to be making a crap ton of money?
That's honestly one of the best arguments I've heard from that. I haven't been like privy to that thought yet. So like that's oh dang, that's a good one, because you do want that professional. You want to make sure that everybody knows what they're getting. But for the growth of Rocket League, I think right now we have to. But it would be it's just interesting if each region would get their own franchise, how that would work, and then you have to see if teams that no longer want to be in it, then are you going to have a gap? Do you fill that in with someone else? It's is there a what's the franchise fee to get in? Of course, the logistics for it are tough, and you kind of lose, like you said, the players that like who play on the weekends with their friends. All of a sudden, the team Twitter who this past season, I forget how far they went, but like it's you get these teams where like, oh shoot, what's going on? Like, who are these random guys? They're not. It's not NRG. It's not FaZe. It's not Space Station. It's not Dignitas. And you lose. That way you can like make sure you're top. Like NRG for the LA Major. Everyone was bummed that NRG lost before in the wild before they got to the main stage. So it's like, oh no, we can make sure you weren't. No, there were tons of people like, let's go. Yeah, God dang. But like I remember like for a lot of people that was their first time experiencing it, that they're just some casual fans. They're like, oh, I've heard about these guys, and like, oh, I don't get to see them. And that just shows you the level of competition and where we're at right now. But yeah, it all depends if the branding, the franchising. I personally, when I first started doing this, I thought franchising was a really cool idea and a really good idea, just because like, oh, okay, I can guarantee. Companies love guarantees. You can probably get more, maybe more sponsors that way, just because you're like, look at all these reputable organizations that already have a huge following, just jump on in. But that one is still up to debate. I don't want to have an opinion on just yet. I want to mull that one over a bit. But I would say right now, franchising is a good thought, but we may lose a lot of our Rocket League population who feel that they will not be seen by the big organizations that get picked up. So they'll probably put down the sticks instead of telling them, hey, you might not be picked. You might not be a very well-known player, but you can still go and beat those guys on any given weekend.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And
yeah,
I mean, it's a far off thought process, but it's not out of the question.
Well, I mean, Rocket League almost did it backwards.
I think you made a good point too. Right, totally. They just allowed anyone. It's just a big tournament.
Well,
that's all it is. Anyone come and join.
What I mean by they did it backwards is you had RLCS, which was a legit season. They went the traditional sports route where you had like two teams were having one game a week. And it was spaced out throughout the week. I forget what nights it was. But you had just like a legit season where everybody just played each other, and then you got seeded, and then you played a tournament, and then you went to Worlds. And you got relegated. And it's weird because then they went away from that to try and churn up more drama, make it more interesting, and doing just the open tournament. But it's like, all right, you've done that for we're year 2 now, and you're almost wondering, okay, how do you merge these two? How do you keep the tournament based, like do a Swiss, do a group play, do double elimination, but then you're also at some point you are drawing the line in that this is what is considered a professional. That anything below that is amateur, you're working your way up. Because I think that's what we're also kind of missing.
Yeah, no, it's not like there's like it's a minor league system, or what I like. I don't say real sports, physical sports, the football, baseball, the basketballs, or the
traditional
soccer is like traditional sports. That's better. You have the pee-wee, then you have middle school, high school, you get to college, then you're working your way up into the NFL or NBA. So like there's that way of being able to progress your skill and being like, okay, professionals, this is their full-time job. This is what they eat, sleep, dream Rocket League. This is they're always on the grind. They have nothing else to do. Where if you're an amateur, you might have a side job, you might be doing this. And of course, we see that now. A lot of these players are getting paid good money. I mean, good money. Jesus Christ. From the Nordic perspective, oh, dude, I see some of these players like salaries, especially in NA and EU. I'm like, huh, oh dang it, I picked the wrong career choice. I should have just got good at Rocket League as a kid. But that,
I mean,
no, that line's hard to draw.
it is very hard to draw. I think that's what's going to be that much harder about it. It's going to take Psyonix actually deciding do they stick in the video game bit? Like, at what point do they remove themselves from the esports management of it all? Because I have like, or they make a completely separate. It just feels like there's Psyonix, and that's it. Like, they're running the game, they're running the competition, media, all of it, and it's like.
Didn't Dota do this though too? Didn't they switch from like open things to like regionalized seasons, and then there's a huge thing at the end? Like, there's esports out there that are adapting to these, having so many teams and players that they can build their own like league where you play a season and you know these teams are going to play every week or every month, and they're going to all play, and then at the end there's going to be these teams in the playoffs or whatever, just like a physical or traditional sport.
That's
like, to me.
Yeah, no, it's a lot to think about.
It is a lot.
like,
We could argue this all day. I have, and I will, and I do.
Well, trust me, we have. But yeah,
I don't even know where to start at. But we got out off topic. So.
I mean, we have you've heard a couple of our ideas. We have a ton of ideas of how to try and make it better, but we're just two guys up here talking. Nobody from Psyonix is gonna come listen to what we're saying, because they're doing their own thing and running it themselves. So I mean, hopefully at some point we see progress, but who knows what the game's gonna be here in the next 2 years. Is it finally gonna be on Unreal Engine 5 and then changes everything completely?
Yeah, that's seeing where the game goes, especially right now with everybody wanting more from the game, since it's very basic at the terms of like ranked, cash, or extra modes is what you're kind of. Or you're gonna go to free play training maps, and Unreal Engine 5 is kind of what everyone's hoping is a savior. But my opinion is like, how much more can we do with the game right now? What can we really introduce into this? Is there gonna be Do we start doing more competitive play for 2v2s where that's actually getting their own land? Do we do our own 1v1 lands that are like that are with Psyonix and not just the I think Appjack threw a ones tournament and Musty did a threes, I believe. So like it's how do we continue putting more options, I guess, for people to play? I love how simplistic. Like personally, I love ranked. I can play ranked and free play almost every day, not get bored of it. But the casual fans who just jump right on in, sometimes just they want something else. And to see what those you still have to find a way to cater to them, because us diehards, we're gonna play the game no matter what it looks like. But to see where Rocket League goes in 2 years in terms of where RLCS is, how the game develops, how the player skill develops, and maybe even the population, if it goes up or down in terms of popularity, it's a collective effort. We all have to do it, but I think Psyonix has to, if they don't want to do it themselves, at least partner with other orgs that are in RLCS, hint hint, or those that are actually doing stuff in the scenes that are TOs and stuff, to be like, okay, we're sanctioning this tournament as well. We're not running it, but we're sanctioning it. We're part of our branding. Then it's like, okay, they're caring. They're actually putting at least their hand on it and being like, all right, let us help you a little bit, but it's still your thing. You have to make it work.
I hadn't even thought about that. Psyonix has not sanctioned a tournament. Like, not even. I wonder if they look at it as every tournament is somewhat sanctioned by Psyonix because we give you our blessing to run your tournament on our servers. But at the same time, they're not coming out and saying that. Like, like you said, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, if they came out and like even Appjack's bubble tournament, there was nothing of like Psyonix is in partnership with this, even if it's not money wise, like adding legitimacy to it. What do, and I think we can end on this topic. What when you as a CEO and you're pitching to sponsors, what are sponsors looking for?
Apart from placement, they want to see our analytics as an organization. I'll be honest, what we tell ourselves here at GodSpeed, we're more than an esport organization. We're a media company. We're selling advertising space on our channel. We're selling advertising space on our Twitter. It really is. How many eyes watch your channel, and is this good enough for me to put my brand in front of, and is it worthwhile? 'Cause a lot of brands are like, why am I gonna, especially with some of these team streams, why am I gonna sponsor a team stream where you're only getting 30 to 80 people? Of course, if you're a huge organization, you're getting thousands and thousands. That's totally different. But that's one thing sponsors really want to know is what's the reach that these organizations are getting in order for us to feel that it's enough for us to back it with our money.
That makes a lot of sense. I was always kind of curious, like what exactly that they're looking for, but analytics is that because my brain, and we've kind of talked about it on here, like it's kind of funny watching like Ford sponsor, you know, when they were sponsoring out Worlds, is like these are a bunch of teenagers. They're not buying a Ford vehicle anytime soon. How are they getting the sponsorship?
I saw that too. I thought that was funny, especially when I saw the Bronco at the bottom. I'm all like, bro, I don't know how many kids are here buying that $30,000 to $40,000.
Nobody's looking at that. How much money was put in on that? Nobody cares that thing is sitting down there.
It's all about eyes, though.
Yeah, I will say I have. Get on it? Yeah, exactly. How many eyes? And they did some well branding. I have 2 of their tumblers. I'll be honest, I was able to grab 2 of the tumblers. You know,
I think Bucket walked away with 5.
Not me, dude. That was God. Wonka Wash. That was a bunch of people. I walked away with 1. I have 1 tumbler. I don't need more stuff. Okay, I have too much stuff as it is. That's what happens when you have so many kids.
I mean, there was a lot of stuff being given away there. If you didn't walk away with something at Worlds, then you were not paying attention.
V1, you got Fury over here.
I got my V1.
Let's go. V1 never done, dude. They're great. Love those guys over there.
V1 scarf there. We got those too.
Well, actually, so Bucket, that's what was funny. When we did the walk with V1, you and I were holding the one banner. Wolfy was holding the other. We didn't know it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, what? Dude, that's crazy when you told me that. I was all like, what a small world. And I want to touch on this. V1, they did it right. They showed what an organization needs to do, and like I got lucky to talk with Brett Diamond, the guy who runs stuff over there, and he was telling me like this is what we want to do, like we have to be able to do. And he's like, yeah, it costs me some money, but it doesn't really matter. It didn't cost me a lot. It really showed that the organizations care to not just say our players are playing, but no, we're gonna put on a show. The V1 had
we're still
the tacos. Exactly. We're still talking about the dang tacos. Dude, I love the tacos. The tacos were great. They had the after party. They had Space Station had like a little meet and greet. I went to that meet and greet. I was in line for an hour and a half, and it was just like it was supposed to be like a hangout, but it was just a line. And then after a while, they closed the gates. They didn't let anyone else in. There wasn't a lot for people in Rocket League to do outside of the event. It was like you go to the event, you go back to your hotel. You go to the event, you go back to the hotel, and V1 was like, no, come before the event, come eat eat some breakfast tacos, come walk with us, come with the marching band. We're gonna have someone right in the sky. Like, imagine if we had other orgs doing that. If there was on that block, there was 6 other organizations that rented out restaurants, so you can go to your favorite orgs. Morning walk, and then you see all the teams walking with their fan base into this one big collective, like a huge soccer entrance, or what we see in the NFL, like tailgating before. There's no community yet, and we have to build that community. And that's something that traditional sports have done so well, because you know they've been around for so long, is that they have that community who are diehards. They have the people that will be in the snows at a Bills game, who will be in the heat. I think Arizona now isn't indoors. It doesn't matter anymore. But they have the people that are willing to back it. And RLCS, we just don't have those numbers right now. But it really is. You have to make fans care, and the only way to do that is for the organizations to put themselves out there more. And yes, we had booths inside, but that was kind of like, okay, cool. But what are you doing outside this arena? Is what they really need to look at.
Yeah, they need raving fans, a book that I've read in business a few times. Fans that will go tell other people about you. That's what we're doing
Mhm.
about V1 right now because they
Yeah.
left an impression on us, and we don't even have to root for their team, but we root for their organization. And
Yeah.
eventually I bought their skin for no reason other than I think they're awesome.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's a
Crazy.
good one to end on, but
No, one question, one last
oh, what do you
small
got? What do you
question. What
got?
do you No, it's not
What's up?
that. I just want to know, like, what do you want people that watch this or go back and watch the VOD, what do you want them to take away from your org or your region or whatever? Just plug yourself, anything you want. And because we want to get in on talking about these things more. So we need to know where to go and how to do that.
Simply don't sleep on APAC. We're small right now, but in our 5-year plan that we have for this region, it's gonna we're trying to change things. We want people to be looking at NA EU and say APAC there as well, and it only comes from the work that we're doing, and we're on the forefront. We're throwing the tournaments. We're trying to get the players there. We're thinking about more ways to get everyone involved, but it takes the people to wake up, watch the streams. It's not easy for us here in America. It's a 6 a.m. Eastern 6 a.m. Eastern start time for them, and it's tough for us international people to watch. But I'd say give it more love. Watch for the players that are there, and root for the players at Worlds, because that right there will make them want to come back, tell all their friends what's up, and they're gonna be like, "Wow, I want that experience too of having thousands and thousands of people watching." And one more thing, make sure to catch Overcharge, the podcast we're having for APAC, where you will be able to get all your news. We will be touching on the current roster changes and players that are leaving their current rosters, and little swaps that are happening right now in the region in this next episode, as well as we will be having, oh man, so I say it here, we're working on a really cool thing for the bubble scene in APAC to really get those guys to shine. So make sure to keep your eyes out for Godspeed. Go follow us on Godspeed ES on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all over. I think we were able to get that handle everywhere. And keep supporting the channel here. You guys have been doing an absolute job. Thank you guys for having me. It honestly, I didn't know what to expect coming into this. Did some research before, but Bucket, Hoosier, you guys were an absolute great host throughout this entire time. And I absolutely had a blast here, and I'm like, oh, cool. I know more Rocket League than I tell myself. All right, cool, awesome.
There you go. Well, we're glad that you came on, and you're always welcome back. And we will be sure to catch up with you later on into 2023, see how everything's going.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Wolfie.